Liquor Talk, another episode starts now, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome everybody to another edition of the Liquor Talk podcast, where we just don't sip liquor, we stir the culture, we have the conversations that you don't want to have. We have the tough conversations, we all while sipping some good drink. And today, having a drink with me today, join me from Chi-Town or Chirac, it's Mr. Wade Simmons. He is a jack of all trades. He's a mortician, he's a photographer, not photographer, but filmographer. You know, he's a film producer and he's a pro wrestler. Let's dive in, man. How you doing today, brother?
Man, I'm doing pretty good. I'm excited to be on, man. I've been wanting to be on here, so I appreciate you for having me.
Hey, that's what happens, man. Whenever people step up and say they want to be on, I get them on. So talk to me about everything you're doing, man. I see you're a writer. You do a lot of things. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, so I'm Wade from Chicago. I've been working in film for about almost 9 years now. I did graduate from film school. Before that, went to school to be a mortician. Been in that business going on 16 years. And I did train for professional wrestling for 2 years with Chicago Style Wrestling. So I'm a jack of all trades, but still a master at none of them yet. But just trying to
Hey,
get the
that's
swing
that's that's
thing.
what it is. That's what it is. So what can you tell us about being a mortician, what people may not understand about, working in the funeral industry?
So working in the funeral industry is one of those things where you definitely have to be passionate about it. You definitely have to care about what you do because you're dealing with people at one of the worst times of their life. And I think like for somebody to get into that field, you got to really love it because you got to understand that not every family grieves differently. Grief is something that everybody embraces differently. Some people may scream and yell or cry. Some people may cuss you out. Some people might laugh and joke. And so, you have to have like a temperament of like being patient with people. And again, you have to be passionate about it because once again, if a person is kind of rowdy and, you know, kind of like very like not well with temperament, it's probably not the best job for them, but it's almost kind of like being an event planner, and a scientist, a little bit of everything, counselor, minister. It kind of, because funeral directors wear many hats, so you just have to be willing to and ready to serve. But it's one job that will teach you to really think about your own mortality. And I think like when we think about our own mortality, to me, like for me, like a lot of people like, why would you work around that? It's just seems so morbid, but actually it's not. Like to me, it's a constant reminder, like to just live every day as like if it's my last, and just not take anything or any moment for granted because like you see all kind of people from 1 years old to 100 years old, so it can happen to anybody at any given time. So it's just one of those constant reminders to just like treat people right. Like I don't even think of myself to really have really any enemies like that because like when you think about how life is and how precious it is. Like you look at life a whole lot differently, man.
Of course, I know, because whenever death happens to like somebody that's close to you or even a celebrity that you grew up idolizing, it'll definitely make you look at life a little differently. Is it true that morticians really be making that cheddar though, man? Because from some people I heard they be stacking, because with the funeral cost being over like $6,000 to $7,000, man. Do y'all really be stacking like that?
Well, not this one, but I'm pretty sure it may be some that might. But some people make a good living from it. But the thing about it is that like I myself, like I work in the business, but like I took more of a break, but like I'm doing it more part time now, only because like I've been kind of more so focused on film and focus on kind of getting some other things off the ground. So like, it's like one of my things was like that even though I work in the deaf industry, deaf is not my life. You know what I'm saying? Like so it's like because like the gentleman who brought me into the business, he made his transition. He was 56 years old and it was really devastating. And it still hurts to this day even thinking about it. But like just thinking about how like that caught us off guard and you work in the business and stuff like that, but it's just one of those things where like it's a constant reminder that like tomorrow isn't on this side isn't promised to any of us. So you have to cherish every moment and like, you gotta live your life. And I would tell the owner of the funeral home all the time that I worked alongside that, because like when I went to mortuary school, it took me a while to go through the process of getting license and certifications and all this stuff. But in the meantime, I had went to film school. I started training for wrestling, and he was kind of like, "Why are you doing all this different stuff?" And I'm like, "Look, man, look, time don't wait on nobody. So, along the ride, we gotta still enjoy our life.
Of course, we definitely gotta enjoy life because because I've heard from so many successful people who they get to where they're at and they're not happy. Why? Because they didn't enjoy the ride, because they didn't enjoy the journey. Because we so focused on the destination that sometimes it's okay to smell the roses or receive the flowers while you're alive. So, what do you think of the people who all of a sudden they all start showing this person love for a funeral? Because I know some people like
Oh
that.
yeah,
And you could tell the ones that they just all of a sudden they just showing this person love, but when they were alive, you weren't really fucking with them like that. What do you think of
yeah,
those
yeah. They,
people?
they call that fake love. Well, I'm gonna be honest. Like, I think in those type of situations, there are two types of people. Like, there are some people who just straight up phony, and then there are some people who are just empathetic because, like I always say, that in life, there may be some people that you may fall out with, you may have a quarrel with, or you might not agree with them, but you still love them. You know what I'm saying? And you don't really wish nothing bad on anybody. But then there's just sometimes some people that may not straight up like a person, and I think that I think that one thing about death is like I don't think that people should be fake or phony, but at the same time, I think that you know in that industry, just working in it, you see like for somebody like me, I don't really hold grudges against people. I don't really hold like to me. I'm not saying that I'm friends with everybody, but I do care for people. So yes, there are some people that just less genuine with it, but then there are some people that really really mean it from their heart. But yeah, but I don't think nobody should be like fake and phony. Like I think it's good to be real with people.
And that's what, and people respect realness. It's like, look, don't sit up here and also want to show this person love when you know that you and this person didn't really have the best relationship.
But
No
yeah,
matter it's friends or family or music artists or a celebrity, or because I've seen some people trying to show love to artists and stuff who passed away, but don't know, got none of their songs until they passed away. It's sad,
it is,
but
you know what? But it's funny you bring this up because I have had the privilege of speaking with so many people that I have met along the way in the news media. And it's funny you brought this up because I was always saying, like, let's be real, especially with being a black American, that I noticed that there's a lot of talented people out here doing very positive things. But the only time you really hear some people's stories is if somebody get killed or somebody go out and do something bad. And I'm like, they say bad news travel fast, but it's like, I like to be one of the people that like try to push more of the good stuff because there's a lot of people out here that are talented and be honest with you, like we look up to celebrities and stuff like that, but the truth is everybody has a talent. Everybody has a skill, just everybody may not have as much reach as some other people, but everybody is somebody. And so like for me, I tend to like look at people more so from that standpoint because I've had the privilege of meeting, some celebrities too from the pro wrestling industry and film industry and other industries. But the truth is I look at everybody just as a person. People are people. And so
yeah.
I try to give everybody that same respect because at the end of the day, they're just a human being. Some people might have more money than others, but at the end of the day, when you go pick up a body, no matter what amount of money that person had, the money's still here. So like everybody's really even when you think about it.
Yeah, the money's still here. It's like
You know
when
what
you did, it's just you can't go you can't take it with you when you pass away. So
I mean?
yeah, well, I see you sipping on the hot tea over there, so it is what it is. But y'all, this is Liquor Talk. The more you drink, the better we sound. So what's your favorite drink of choice whenever you just want to relax or something like that?
See?
Because I
Look,
know
I'm a
doing everything you do, you probably want to kick back.
you know what, man? I'm not like a drinker like in that sense, but I do drink a lot of tea and coffee.
I feel you, man. I feel you. I feel you, y'all. So hey, we'll call this a sober round, since we don't have a drink. It's all good. And I want people to understand that you don't have to be a drinker to be on Liquor Talk, because that can be a little frustrating. But if y'all want to hear more about my vent, I'll vent to my fellas. That episode is gonna come up real soon. So stay tuned for that. But going to the pro wrestling side of things, what made you want to get into pro wrestling? Like, was it watching wrestling growing up?
Absolutely. So me and I had a friend named Cross, my brother Corinthian, my friend Jordan. When we were younger, Gus, we used to be out in the yard breaking flower pots and hitting each other with stuff, wrestling and stuff. And then my friend Jeremy and James, growing up together, man, we put some holes in walls and everything, just wrestling. And then when I was in high school, I wrestled at Bloom Township. I wrestled my freshman year, but I quit. So my senior year, I said, you know what, I'm gonna go back and finish the season. Went back, finished the season, kind of had like a storybook kind of like career. And when I was in high school, because every time they put me out on the match, I never had an opponent. I just kept winning by default, which is kind of funny, but I take them. A victory is a victory, right? But anyway,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think much of it. And then what ended up happening was that after I finished film school, I wanted to make this documentary. And so I was like, you know what? I would love to do a documentary on pro wrestling. And so I ended up reaching out to a guy by the name of Steve Boz. He wrestled in WWE back when it was WWF. He's been in the industry a very long time training people. And so I reached out to him and like, hey, I'd like to make this documentary. So he invited me to CSW, to the training school. And I couldn't make it at first because I was working at the funeral home full time. So like, every time they got practice, I got to be at work, brother. So one day I just finally went. And then when I had the conversation with him, we were standing in the ring and he introduced me to all of the different wrestlers and stuff like that. And then out of nowhere, he like, so when you gonna start training? And I'm like, well, I guess I'll start next week. So it went from me trying to make this documentary to me actually just training for it.
Hmm. So let's just say a big brand wanted to sign you, WWE or AEW. Which one would you go with?
And that's kind of tough. I like both of them, but I guess I'll say WWE. It just seems like it's a lot of fun. I'm pretty sure it's more work to it than it looked like, but yeah.
Yeah, I understand that. I know it's more Willock, but from the fan side of thing, as a black man, it's like sometimes you don't see a lot of black WWE champions in pro wrestling. Why you think that is?
Well, I think does play an issue. Like, I'm not gonna pretend like it don't, because there's sometimes society kind of do us a little bit bogus. Let's be real. But I
Yep.
think it's just racism sometimes. Like, a lot of people don't like to deal with that, but a lot of time people just want to see a champion that looks a certain way. And I mean,
Exactly.
like I said, I know sometimes people get mad at that, but the truth, and even on the independent wrestling scene, like from the promotions I see, yes, there are a lot of talented black wrestlers as well as Latino and white as well. But sometimes I don't really see a lot of the black wrestlers getting pushed. So yes, that is something that do go on, and that's something that I've noticed. I'm not, being funny, but it's true.
Yeah, because I remember there was one year I literally stopped watching WWE like a number of times because first time was they hyped up Kofi when Kofi finally won the title for him just to get squashed by Black Brock Lesnar. I
Hey
had to
man, you know
turn
what? I
wrestling
like
off.
I like Brock Lesnar, and I'm happy to see he's back with the cowboy look and everything. But I think Kofi should have definitely, been treated a little bit better. At least put up a fight because let's be real. Brock is a pretty big guy, but we know
Yeah,
that in
he
real
is.
life, sometimes David versus Goliath, sometimes the smaller man come out better. You know what I'm saying? But it's just the way it goes sometimes. But yeah, but
Yeah, and then on the lady side, I remember one year Bianca Belair was holding the title, and then she gets squashed by Becky Lynch. I'm like, really? Y'all gonna do this to the sister now? Y'all already do this to the black man, but y'all gonna do this to the sister now? Come on,
and it's
man.
like and sometimes, like I said, I'm not gonna say that everybody means something by it, but the truth is, it's just a lot of times, people, they do look at us by our looks and all that. But I just say, no matter what race or any of those things a person is, like everybody is talented. You got talented white people, talented black people, talented Latino people. So I think everybody just kind of deserves a fair chance. I like to be
Yeah,
fair.
yeah, I agree with you. I like to be fair too, and also as a brother, you like to see um black wrestlers getting pushed because y'all don't realize that if we see a black wrestler getting pushed, guess what? The black dollar is very powerful, and black people, when we see us being represented, well, you notice that we gonna spend that money. Like Marvel found that out firsthand when Black Panther first came out. That was one of the highest grossing movies in history. Why? Because you had black representation.
Absolutely, yeah. Representation really does matter. I know sometimes, again, that's another thing that people, don't like to talk about, but representation does matter because, and let's be real, because in this world we live in, we know from a historical point of view, some things has been altered. Our people have kind of been pushed to the background, but it's not gonna stop us. We still gonna conquer. You know what I'm saying? We still gonna conquer.
Yeah. Yeah, we still gonna conquer. We still gonna do right. And honestly, I hope they do right by WWE. I hope they do right by Oba
I
Femi
love it.
because
I
this
love it.
brother,
I
man,
love it.
he look like he's special, man. You know, and I know him and Brock gonna pay off that trilogy. You know, also I will say, I did watch Night. I did catch a little bit of Night of Champions. I saw Sami Zayn win. I was happy for him, but I was shocked that they actually pulled it off.
I'm
You know, I'm
glad,
happy
but
that
Sami Zayn has been around a very long
yeah,
time,
he's been around for years.
and I love giving pro wrestlers their flowers because, like, when I started training for it, I saw another part of the industry that I never thought about because growing up, we watched WWE. I wasn't like following like some of the other smaller promotions. Now I did watch TNA, ECW back then,
Yeah,
but
ECW. Yep.
but what some people don't think about is that a lot of these wrestlers that we watch today, some of them started out on the independent scene, and when you kind of see
Most of them,
when
yeah.
you see what people kind of go through on the indie scene, it gives you a whole nother look because like you think about it, like a lot of wrestlers start out wrestling in local bars or restaurants and school gyms outside under viaducts, all that good stuff, and people really dedicate their time and their life to this. Like me, I did it as a hobby because once I got into it and I started, I took a break from making the documentary because we just started having fun working out and getting in the ring and taking bumps. But like I treated it as a hobby, and it's funny because like you mentioned the journey and the destination. I had one of my good friends, John from pro wrestling. He would always say, "Man, I'm just enjoying the journey because it's not a destination." Because a lot of times with success, when people feel like when they get to this destination, they find out that no, the destination wasn't that important. It's the journey. Because when you reach a certain pinnacle, you're gonna get to a point where okay, what happens next? But the journey always continues. So to me, you're right about that. The journey is always more important than the destination because the destination is temporary. That's just like in the pro wrestling business. If you were training on the indie scene for some years, maybe you get a call from TNA or WWE, or AEW, and then you get there. How long are you going to be there for? You might be there for 5 or 6 years, maybe 2 years, and get there, and maybe you want a different path. And so that's why, like me, when I see a lot of the old school wrestlers who like a lot of times make appearances like this coming month. We have Chris Masters, the Master Lock. He's gonna be at CSW this
Yes.
month, so I'm definitely gonna be there. I'm definitely gonna be there filming for my documentary that day. Because that's what it's about. And like I commend a lot of these pro wrestlers who were in WWE or TNA or even AEW who maybe they were in these bigger promotions for some time and then they start going back to the other independent promotions and working shows. Because I know sometimes I've seen wrestlers who were wrestling in gym rooms at school shows and maybe it wasn't as many fans there or whatever. And some people like would be making comments like, oh man, they don't really, step down to this. But no, that's not a step down. That's just a different phase. Because if you love what you do, it don't make a difference if it's 10 million people in there or if it's 10 people in there. You're doing what you love. Like I think sometimes people have this wrong mindset because again, they're looking at the destination and not focusing on the journey. And again, the journey is more important than the destination because the destination is temporary. How many people like, even with the NBA, how many people we know were in the NBA at one point and they're not even there no more playing? They own to something
That's
else,
a fact.
you know? So yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely affect everything you said, and also, I remember watching the documentaries on A&E about the wrestlers, and I saw what they were coming from, and I saw how they were young on the independent scene. It's like every big wrestler you see right now on AEW or WWE or hell even TNA, they were always on the independent scene, and they were putting in the work. And I really, once I saw that, I really respected the craft. You know what I'm
It
saying?
worked.
So it's like,
Yeah,
I know sometimes it's like sometimes some wrestlers don't get their love, but it's just like that's the part that annoys me when I see wrestlers that's been for years, but they don't get that love. So when Sammy won, I was kind of happy for him, though. You
I
know.
want you to check out this one wrestler. Her name is Bombshell Shelley. She started with us in CSW, and she has taken off. I'm so proud of her. She doing her thing in the industry. I remember when we all started, we was trying to figure it out, trying to get the moves right. Shelly stuck with it. She's traveling the world in Florida, so and then my big brother, big business, Levi, he's doing this thing. So like I'm always even my little brother Jay Bibbs. Look, I was on working on the set of Chicago PD, and I was doing an episode. It was episode 10, I believe. It was a church scene, and I was talking about pro wrestling. And there was a young brother by the name of Jay Bibbs. He walked up to me. God bless me and him to connect. We know some of the same people in the industry, so it's just crazy how like things kind of work together. But again, it's nice meeting people that's on the same path.
Yeah, it's always nice meeting people that's on the same path with you, especially whether it's content creation or wherever it is, because it's like it's nice connecting with them. And then when you get to connect with them in person, it's a whole nother vibe, and it's always a blessing to see them always progressing. And so talk to me about the filmmaking. What got you into wanting to be in film school? Because I know you said you were doing film school while studying to be a mortician. So what got you into wanting to shift over to
It
film?
was a roadblock. Well, so let me go back to childhood though. I always said I wanted to do two things. I wanted to be a mortician and I wanted to be a filmmaker. But I never really thought about film as a career because let's be honest, like, we know that the entertainment industry is not as glitz and glamour as people think it is. It is an industry, but it's very hard to for people to really get in and make a living. And so when you tell people you're an artist, people look at you like, everybody's an artist. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, you ain't making no money. You know what I'm saying? But what ended up happening was that when I went to mortuary school, by the time I finished, we had to take this exit exam called the capstone. And so it was taking me a while to pass it, so it wasn't looking good. So I remember going home praying, talking to God, like, I gotta figure something out because if I don't pass this test, I just wasted my money going to school. So I thought about like being a plumber or something like that because my family's in that business. I flew to Vegas to work with my uncle, and I'm like, you know what, this ain't for me, so I better do something that I enjoy. So I'm like, I'm gonna go to film school. So while I was in Vegas, I called some film school that wasn't even legit. And they like, yeah, you can start with. I'm like, nah. So I found the film school that was, pretty good. It was reasonable, and it was kind of like at the pace that I wanted because, like I said, I had already went to school previously. So like, I wasn't really trying to just, focus on no 4 year program. Like I had already did all my school. So I went to film school for 2 years and graduated. And so like, when I went to film school, it just took off. Like as soon as I got now this is the funny thing. Soon as I got into film school, I passed the funeral director part of the test. It's crazy how
Wow.
God worked it out. Like, it was crazy because again, remember I told you the owner of the funeral home said, "Why are you gonna go to school for something else? You ain't even did that for 7 months." I was trying to pass this test, couldn't pass it. Then I go to film school. God bless me to pass it. So after I finished film school, I went back and finished my embalming, the science portion of the test. God bless me to pass it. So it's like everything just kind of came full circle. But when I went to film school, like I jumped right in. Like when I got to school, like I had access to the equipment and stuff. I was checking out cameras and working on projects. I didn't care if they was good or bad, or if the project was trash or whatever. Like I just wanted to make stuff because I'm like, look, I'm not only a filmmaker, I'm a funeral service worker, and tomorrow ain't promised to nobody. So while I'm in school, I'm gonna take advantage of being here. By the time I got out of school, I had probably already produced like 20 some shorts. Now, I'm not saying they were all great, but hey, I was having fun. I wasn't caring about none of this stuff.
I feel you. I feel you. Trust me, I definitely feel you when you're producing content. It's like because I look back some of the first seasons of Liquor Talk when we were just kicking in and having fun. I'm like, but now we didn't took it seriously, but we still having fun though. Of course. So I definitely feel you on that. And what do you have you ever realized that there is a lot of filmmakers out there? Because I've been to different networking events, and I'm like. And there, I realized there's a lot of filmmakers within the city, and then also I realized that there's some podcasters who are filmmakers as well. There's one in North Carolina, even though she comes to South Florida. She comes to Florida a lot, and I wish she would just go ahead and move back to Florida. But who am I to tell somebody about their journey anyway? Because I realized something about people is people don't listen. Some do and some don't. And if they're just enjoying their journey, I just let them be. But because there's a person that they always holler about that they would be producing more films if they were in Florida. So I want to just scream at them and tell them, bring your ass to Florida. But you know what? That ain't my place to do that, because I'm focused on my journey. So,
Yeah.
but to that filmmaker out there, you know who you are. I still love you. You know who you are. So what's it been like? Have you got a chance to work with other filmmakers, and what's the experience been like?
Oh yeah, I actually work with a lot of my colleagues from film school, like the Salton brothers. They've been a big part of my journey. They are not only filmmakers, but they are talented artists. One of them has like a comic strip carrot and everything. So he did a lot of like my drafting for my lookbooks and designing the characters and stuff for my web series. So he helped me out with that. One of my other partners from film school, Greg Gillian. We haven't worked together in a while, but part of my earlier journey, he was a part of it. Chris Hospelhorn, he did a lot of cinematography early on, and then Elijah Love, that's my brother. Me and him been working together for quite a while. So, and then I can't leave out my brother Benjamin Hart because Ben was with me day one when I first produced my web series. The episode we never released it to the public, but it was an episode called Repeat. It was based off me in mortuary school, and I had to start the program over, and it was crazy because I was only supposed to produce it and I wrote it. But what ended up happening was the main actor who was supposed to play Wade didn't show up. So I ended up playing the part. And so I just kept doing it. But like I tell people, I do not consider myself by no means to be an actor. But if I have to step in and have a little fun, hey, I do it.
Yeah, you sound like this filmmaker. I know that they just prefer being behind the scenes, but if they gotta step in, they'll step in. And like what's funny is the people that they say that they don't like to act, they like to just stay behind the camera. They do a damn good job. That's the crazy thing.
Well, like I said, I mean, I don't like I said, I don't consider myself to be the greatest actor, but it's the same thing with wrestling. Like, right now I was focusing more on possibly like being more of a manager, but I wouldn't be afraid to get in the ring and fight. Like I ain't Paul Heyman, I ain't one of the managers that they're gonna just push around. Like I might be a small guy, but I will fight. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah, yeah, you one of those people that will fuck some shit up, Paul Heyman, he been in so long. When he ever comes out the ring, the audience already know what he gonna say. Do you ever find that going back to wrestling? Do you ever find that part redundant when the same wrestlers say the same things over? Do you ever feel like they just need to switch it up sometimes because it's like they have the same opening, then the whole audience just already know what they're gonna say?
sometimes I think it's a time to keep it going, and then it's a time to give it up. Like I'm not gonna lie, I love when Roman Reigns used to do the head of the table thing. like
Hey,
I
I feel like when he got to that character, that's when he took off.
yeah.
I feel like because I know with wrestlers, I feel like some people are just meant to be the bad guy, and then there's some people like him, like Brock Lesnar. There's some guys that it feels like they just meant to be the bad guy, and then you got some bad. There's some people you look at them like, why the fuck did you make him the bad guy? I like John
Yeah,
Cena,
oh
like
yeah, like John Cena heel run was more comedy than anything to me.
that really was because I'm like, I'm not buying this shit. I'm happy he won 17, but I'm not buying this shit.
but it was kind of funny seeing John Cena tap out the last match like
Yeah, that was. I'm like, this man don't ever tap out, but now he taps out. Now, have you had to deal with the part of pro wrestling where there's like politics playing it? Because I always hear there was some people like backstage politics and stuff. Have you ever had to deal with that? And what's your take on it?
Absolutely. And I'll share this story quite a bit, but there was a female wrestler. I never called anybody name, not trying to make nobody look bad, but it was actually a female wrestler who gave me a very hard time when I was training. Um, and I just leave it at that. But you do have situations where people are not always very nice. But it's weird to me because it's like when you think about it, like we all people just learning, and the crazy thing about it is like when you are actually a person doing it, you don't look at it as a fan no more. You look at it as like this is something that you're a part of, and then you start to look at it as like everybody's just working together to try to put on the show, hopefully make an impact in the industry and in the world. But just like any other job, you may have some people that's mean, you might have some people that's kind. There, don't get me wrong, there were a lot of wrestlers that was nice. Like I met Hornswoggle. Carlito came and worked one of the shows. Scotty Too Hottie was very nice. Hornswoggle was very nice. Damian Sandow came to one of the shows. But like I said, I met so many kind people, but then there was some people that was a little not so kind.
Oh, damn. You know what? Listen, and I know to all the ones that not so kind, your day is coming. Just know that, because
But see, one thing
it's
about
like you said, it's like you gotta, but go
But see,
ahead.
one thing about me, I'm a type of person. Again, I've met all type of people from working in the funeral business, and one thing I tell everybody is that anybody can lead this world at any given time. So it's just always good to be kind and courteous to people because the problem that I think a lot of people have is egos, and what a lot of people don't
Hmm.
realize is that you got to stop looking at people as this person is up here, this person is down here, because in the real world, tables can turn in life. You never know.
Hmm.
Everybody is somebody in a way, but you never know how life is gonna go. Like I look at it at the elementary school that I went to on the west side of Chicago. One of my fellow, he wasn't my classmate, but he was one of my grandmother's students. He was also a funeral director who worked at the same funeral home that I end up working at on the south side of Chicago. It's like that song says, it's a small world after all. Like you never know, and that's why I tell people like you gotta always be kind to people because life has a way of humbling everybody. And a lot of
Yes,
times
it
people
does.
don't think about that because they're looking at like, I can block this person. But if it's in God's will for somebody to be where they are, they're gonna be there. It don't matter what man do, no matter what man say. If it's meant for somebody to be somewhere, it's gonna happen. So you might as well. That's why, like I said, I always rather try to help people. If I can't help you, I ain't gonna hurt you because, like I said, everybody is somebody, and like you never know, you could be mistreating somebody that might end up being your boss one day, or you might need a favor from somebody, or you might need somebody to come to your rescue. So it's just kind. It's just a common sense to be kind to people. Period. Because once again, you never know. You just never know.
Yes. You never know. You really do never know. And that's why you always got to be kind to people. That's why I do my best to be kind to people as well, because you never know when you're going to be in that situation where you're going to count on somebody. And also, I do keep track of who was being rude to me and who was being an asshole to me. I don't hold grudges, but let's just say I remember things. I still might be courteous and be cordial. Yeah, but I'm not gonna let you a part of the journey, or you ain't gonna be allowed
I
at my
kid you not.
table. That don't mean I want you to, struggle, but I'm just not gonna work
I
with you.
kid you not. When I was in high school, I had my brother and he had some friends of his. I remember one time, you know, they saw this guy over in the area and they was gonna get him, and I was like, no, don't touch him. I was one of the people that's like, even if it's somebody that I didn't, like me, I didn't really have too many problems with people, but I'm just one of the people that like, okay, whether you like somebody or not, y'all be cool, and I just think about it like, it's always good to be kind to people because you never know, like, when people are younger, they have a different mindset, like, you know what I'm saying? And like I said, my brother and them, they were younger at the time, but like I said, I don't know if this guy might have at the time might have had, some beef or whatever like that, but and that gentleman turned out to be one of the coolest people.
Of course, and also that's one thing I will also say is like you just give people a chance too, because they turn out to be one of the coolest people. Because I admit, like, even this platform, like, I've had certain guests, like, I was a little hesitant to give them a chance, but then it turned out to be a really good interview. And then there were some people I was anticipating having on, and it turned out to be trash interviews. So yeah, I'm pretty sure you know that in filmmaking as well. It's like you have some people, I know you ain't gonna name them, but you're like, okay, I'm definitely not gonna work with this person ever again. So
Well, see, and this the crazy thing about filmmaking. Like, it's all fun and games till you actually start doing it. Because once you start, and this is why a lot of times I am not very critical of other people's work, because I tend to have a different mindset. Because a lot of people, they watch things to critique and criticize it, but I think when you know the things that the filmmaker faced when they was putting the project together, you judge. To me, I judge things a little bit differently, because sometimes it's like, well, did they notice that? Did they see that? Yeah, okay. Everything is not going to be perfect. Don't even in the mainstream media. Like, okay, we're people. People gonna make mistakes. It happens. But I give a little bit of grace, because a lot of times you never know what went into like people putting this stuff together. And then again, like I say, movies are movies. Yeah, we want this stuff to be real, but like, to me, that's why, like I say, as an artist, I don't think that I would really fit the mainstream type of filmmaker, because me, I create more solely as an artist. And I think when you focus more on being an artist, you create a little bit different, because when you get mainstream media, it's more agenda driven. Let's be real. It's more
mhm.
agenda driven, and it's more like it gotta be like this. But when you create solely as an artist, you just be an artist. You just let it flow. You're not worried about if it get 10 million likes or 3 likes or whatever. No, like, I make what I want to make. I use my own money, make my own stuff. It may not be perfect. I don't profess my work to be the greatest, and that's another thing that's one of like my pet peeves, is that, like, I refer to nobody as the GOAT or the greatest, because I'm gonna tell you why I say that. Only God is the greatest. That's just my only God is the greatest. But all of us as people, all of us have a talent, all of us have a skill. So instead of me calling somebody the greatest, I say they the best at being who they are. That's just like with the argument with Michael Jordan and LeBron, right? Uh, Michael Jordan is the best. He was the best at being Michael Jordan. LeBron James is the best at being LeBron James. I don't really like to
That's a fact.
compare people, because when you think about people, like people are individuals. Everybody have their own birthday. Everybody have their own exit date. Everybody has their own life. So, like, to me, I'm not one that really compare people, because I feel like in this world we live in, that's how they pit people against people, and oh, this person is more than this person. But no, everybody got their own journey. Everybody got their own path.
Yes, everybody has their own journey. Everybody has their own path. So that's why it's like I always, sometimes I tell myself, like, look, hey, we're on the journey right now. So I know sometimes you see things other people have, you're happy for them, but, and then selfishly, like, when is it my time? But it's like, hey, you just got to enjoy the path. So, because it can be frustrating, the journey can be frustrating.
You're right, but I can't just say that this person is the greatest of all time, because that's to say that I went all across the world. I saw everybody play basketball, because we just think mainstream. But let's be real, in this world, there are a lot of people mainstream who are what they are. But there's a lot of people who you never heard of that, hey, let's be real. Some of them might be even very
Yeah,
a lot
because
of more
trust
talented,
me,
you know.
yeah, trust me. I know basketball. They're basketball. They play basketball. They have basketball leagues all over the world, and the NBA just happen to be the biggest. So trust and believe. I know that. But speaking of which, what do you think LeBron James is gonna sign since he ain't gonna sign back with the Lakers?
Uh, I'm gonna be honest. That's kind of a tough one, because like I know where they're saying he might go, but I'm thinking he probably gonna end up going to a team that people didn't expect him to go to. That's just me talking, but
Yeah,
realistically, it's probably gonna be the Cavs or the Heat. I think personally the Heat is probably a good idea, because I mean he won his first championship there. They got a pretty good team already. So I mean, why
yeah.
not?
Him and Giannis together would be nice, but I think he would have to try to smooth things up with Pat Riley because the NBA. If it's one thing for sure, you not gonna bully or try to fuck. Pat Riley runs the Miami Heat. I don't care if he 80, but I think he wants to get one more ring and then he'll step to the side. But it would be nice to see him sign with the Heat or maybe go back home to Cleveland for one last run,
Yeah,
or hell, even
if he
I can't see him going to the Warriors though. That would be
if
just
he
too weird.
well,
I'm
well,
like,
but like,
you spent years battling this team, and now you're on them.
but you know what? One thing I can say about LeBron James that I do like is that he's winning in the way that's meant for him to win. And I
Facts.
think that like sometimes that's what I'm saying. Back to comparison, like it to me, I know how people compare, but you got to look at it like this. Everybody's journey and path is different. It's just like saying, for instance, if somebody goes and they have this film career, right? Some people might have got to a certain place through an internship. Some people might have got to a certain place because they had a friend that helped them out. But at the end of the day, as long as you ain't did nothing out the way of wrong, if winning is winning. That's the way I look at it. Like a win is a win.
Yeah,
So I ain't tripping about it. Hey, when you got to take a
exactly.
test or exam, it don't matter. Hey, if the passing grade is an 80 and you get an 82, or you just barely get an 80, you still passed. So a win is a win. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. And I remember when I used to work for the state, one of my mentors, he told me like, don't even worry about it, because I looked at him like, bro, I'm only making 80s here. He said, well, you're doing the job. And what's funny is I managed to outlast a lot of the training class, So it's like, so I feel you, and I feel you on the journey. So it's like sometimes you just got to make it whenever you're on the journey. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Liquor Talk. The more you drink, the better we sound. Shout out to everybody that's tuned in on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or watching this on YouTube, or you're checking this out on TikTok. Tell us what you think. Tell me what you're sipping on while you're watching this. Shout out to everybody that's out there tuned in, that's been around for the journey, with big things are coming, y'all. Shout out to everybody out here. And happy 250 to America, But once again, you know who built America. If you know, you know. So Mr. Wade, so what's something about filmmaking that you wish you would have known before you got started?
I wish I would have known that, you know, a lot of times a lot of this stuff is bought. I hate to say that, but no, like put it like this, like, like when it comes to like viewership and all this stuff, like some of that like reach is bought. Put it like that. And I think as a child, I just never thought about that. When I got older, I started to understand that, in business, a lot of times things are not just getting out there by happenstance. A lot of people is paying for reach. And I was just saying, honestly,
Yeah.
as a child, I'm not knocking it, but me personally, I believe in building more organically. That's just my own belief. Um,
But that I understand, but sometimes you just got to do what you got to
I
do. A little
understand
boost
that
don't
too.
help.
Yeah.
Yeah, but sometimes I get it where people been coming from, where they trying to build organically, but sometimes your shit just is not moving. So sometimes you gotta change things up. So
I get it.
I understand
Look,
both
business.
ends.
I get it. Business, but I'm just saying, like for me, it's just like when I realized that, I'm like, oh, okay, I get it now. I get it. I get it.
Hmm. So what's something you want to tell to rising filmmakers, people who are considering going into filmmaking, and or who are out here trying to find their journey?
Tell the type of stories that you want to tell. Make the kind of stuff that you want to make, because we don't need any more remakes. In my opinion, we don't really need any more trying to like just make stuff because you've seen it before, or somebody made a movie like this. Like, I think it's okay to be as original as you can be. I mean, everything comes from somewhere, but I like originality. Like, we don't always need the same types of stories and tropes and all that Hollywood type stuff. Like, to me, it's okay to be a little more. Don't get me wrong. Like, I know Hollywood's about numbers and all that good stuff, but I think, to be honest with you, people like stuff that stand out a little more. Cause like, if we look at it right now, and me and my friends talk about this all the time, uh, YouTube and Instagram are probably doing better number than Netflix, to be honest with you. I hope
Yeah,
Netflix don't get mad at me for saying it, but uh, but let's be
yeah.
real.
It is what it is, though.
More people are tuning in to like YouTube and Instagram. Like, YouTube is.
Yeah, because YouTube and Instagram are free, and I know, but I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna lie. I'm bougie. I got the YouTube Premium, because it's like, hey. in the line of work I do, it's like sometimes, some nights I have a night job, so sometimes to stay awake, I'll be on watching YouTube. So you're definitely right about that. And also, Netflix be killing me with all these darn remakes because I saw a Tyler Perry. Shout out to Tyler Perry. No, nothing against, not knocking the brother, but I saw Why Did I Get Married? I'm like, bruh, do we need another one, bruh? Because there's some filmmakers, they tell the same types of stories, and I'm just like, my brother, will you fucking evolve? I know you've making $1 billion off that shit, but can you fucking evolve? I'm tired of seeing the same story over and over again.
Well, that's but that's the method to the madness, I guess. But but like I said, but there are some people who solely create as an artist, because I do understand that being commercialized is a little bit different sometimes when you're just freely creating and trying to figure it out. And I notice with most artists, like when they first start out, a lot of times you see more of the real artists in their work. Sometime by the time people start getting a little bit bigger, then it becomes more factory type, Um,
Yeah, and you know what? And I hate that, because I've seen like whether it's music artists or filmmakers, it's like, why can't you just still be yourself? Why do you have to conform and condemn to the
Good
standards?
example. When pop that balloon went to Netflix, I'm like, it was like like what I'm saying, like pop that balloon, like when
Yeah,
it was just a totally different. It was a little bit.
it was more of a vibe when it was on
Yeah.
YouTube and TikTok, but now we know the shit staged. Now we don't know if people are really being for real about trying to find love, or is this shit just being actors? That's why I don't really watch Love Island, because I'm like, I know everybody talking about it, but it's like I feel like these people are just acting.
Is it reality or is it a fantasy?
Yeah, or yeah, is it reality or is it just people being paid actors? Because we don't know with Netflix and stuff. But um any works that we should be looking out for that you're working on?
Yeah, so currently I'm finishing up my pro wrestling documentary. It's been taking me a little time to finish it. I would have liked to have it finished a couple of months ago, but I still need to touch it up a little bit. But I'm excited. It's coming. It's gonna be coming soon, God willing. So be on the lookout for that. And like I said, I just pop stuff out gradually. I don't do a lot of advertisement and stuff like that, but I do a lot of public speaking. By the grace of God, I've guested on a lot of podcasts. So I like sharing my stories with people that way, and just encouraging other people. Because again, to me, everybody is somebody, and everybody has a story. And if you don't tell your story, like I had the privilege of meeting a former NBA referee when at the funeral home. I was working the service and he was there, and he's 91 years old. His name was Ruben Norris. Very
Mm-hmm.
nice gentleman. And I remember him coming up to the desk and he said to me, and he's the one that inspired the article that I wrote. The one that when I say everybody's somebody, he said, I had to tell you my story, because if I don't tell you, who will? And so I thought about him saying it, and I'm like, everybody really does have a story. It's like, and again, everybody don't have the reach, but everybody still has a story. I feel like if you were to just meet some random people and they tell you about their life, you would just visualize their movement and be like, man, they went through this and they went through that and they overcame that. So to me, ain't nobody more important than the next person. Everybody's somebody.
Yeah, and that's why on this platform I've opened it up to people who have because I got to the point of I like to hear different people's stories. I like to hear different people's perspectives, because you never know what you're gonna learn by just sitting down and having a recording session. Because that's why I enjoy what I do. Because even though I haven't seen the financial wins yet, I know they're coming. I haven't seen the financial wins or the big time wins. I know they're coming. I just have you just gotta keep grinding. You just gotta keep going, because you'll take more of an L by stopping. And not and just sitting down wondering. But you just gotta ride it out through the good and the bad. And I know that with
Oh yeah,
filmmaking.
it's
So
look,
that's why, yeah,
time.
because I know that there's probably some filmmakers of that started with you that they ain't filmmaking today. And I know that probably, I don't know if it disappoints you, but you're still like, man, what are you doing all that for, man?
Well, I look at it like this. They say time flies when you're having fun, or some people don't like to call it time because they say time is an illusion. But the moments, if you don't want to call it time, the moments pass by really fast when you're having fun. And so to me, I just say that you got to always remember, like you said, it's a journey. not so much a destination. So if you're having fun with the journey, you just keep having fun, because to me, I love waking up every day doing what I love. Now, not to say that I've had, haven't had any rough times or haven't faced any setbacks or this or that, because the truth is, in life, all of us have obstacles, but life is just about overcoming these obstacles. And I know sometimes people don't want to hear that, because, it's kind of rough when you're trying to reach this pinnacle, and it's just, it's like you're climbing up the ladder and you're falling back down. You're climbing up the ladder and you're falling back down. But the truth is, sometimes just learning to be content, and just, whatever money you do have, whether it's a little or a lot, you got to use it wisely. I'll tell anybody that, use it wisely, because don't waste it. Don't waste any moment. Don't waste your money. Like, use everything wisely and responsible, and you'll be a lot further than you think. You know.
Yes, you do. And for the people out there who aren't wise with money, I just interviewed a financial coach. So go ahead, holler at her. She's in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Shout out to Coach Cake. Go ahead, go holler at her. Her information is tagged on Instagram. So go holler at her if you need some guidance on how to take care of your money wisely, ladies and gentlemen, because money comes and goes. But if you don't know how to manage it right, you're gonna be in the same place at the same time. So
Yeah.
take care of your money, take care of your chicken, like Marshawn Lynch said. Take care of it.
Absolutely. It be gone like the wind, right?
Yes, it would be gone like the wind. And so, do you see yourself getting back into mortician, or being back, or are you done with the more to being a
Well,
mortician?
no, I still work in the industry. I'm still kind of full time ish, but kind of like when I want to. So it's
Hmm.
it's 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 cool like that, because like I said, I'm working on a few things, and then like I said, I do hold a license in Illinois. It's an intern license at the moment, and I'm also a funeral arranger out in California. But I will be fully licensed there pretty soon, sooner than most people think. So I'm excited about that. But kind of doing the thing with living in two states. Kind of, I've I've done it before, so it's not too surprising. But I feel like when you want to
So
grow.
you're living in Illinois and
Well,
California.
put it like this. I lived in Illinois and Missouri temporarily back in 2024. That was really different, but I got tired of coming from the cold to the cold. I didn't, that wasn't something that I intended on doing, but it just kind of happened. But it was a pretty cool experience, because to me, I feel like a lot of people get stuck on where they from. And I feel like sometimes, in order to grow, sometimes you got to do something different. Like, I actually did not choose California because of film. Like, a lot of people, like, you just going trying to go to that Hollywood. No, I don't care anything about that, because honestly, nowadays you could be a filmmaker. You could be a filmmaker anywhere. You live in Wyoming and be a filmmaker. In North
Pretty
Dakota,
much.
like, those are beautiful places too. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that there are talented filmmakers all over the world, but there are some, things that I'm working toward that, California is just a little more easier for me to kind of navigate through those things at the moment. So like I said, eventually, God willing, I'm gonna probably end up in Florida or possibly Arizona, but for right now, California, to, like, get some things off the ground.
And I feel you. I feel you. Hey, if you ever come to Florida, come holler at me. You know
Look,
what I'm
I got
saying?
look,
But
I got quite a few people in Florida. Shout out to my brother Timothy Odom. We grew up together. My homegirl Karina, she has a coffee business, and she's doing her thing out there. So, like, it's a lot of, look, it's people doing great things everywhere.
of course, there's a lot of great people doing great things everywhere. So those are like two totally different environments. Now, while you in Illinois, have you had a chance to visit the Obama Center? Now, that is one thing. When it's warm, I wouldn't mind getting on a flight to go to Chicago to go see.
I have not been there just yet. I haven't got around to it just yet. Probably because in like the next few weeks, I gotta actually go back to California to take care of some business down there. And like I said, so I'll be kind of like I said, even though, like, a lot of people sometimes lately, I've been home a lot more lately. But like I tell people, like, even though I'm home, I'm always working on something, trying to get some stuff moving and tying up some loose ends. So working from home is not always as glamorous as people think it is, because
Yeah,
it's
I've worked
it's
from. I remember work from home for like 1 year. Of course, during COVID, I said I wouldn't. it may be easier, but sometimes I get tired of looking at my house. I get tired of, at least when you at the office or wherever, you can get up and go walk
But it's a little
around.
bit
But
different because, like I said, like now in the funeral business, I work in mortuary transportation. So like now I work pretty much on call. So sometimes, and I can get a call any day. So it's like it's one of those things where you don't really have an off day, but you may not always work every day. So, you may get a call and then you can't tell a family, um, I can't make it right now. Like, no, when they call you, you got to get up out the bed if it's 2 or 3 in the morning, and you got to get up and do what you got to do. You may get a call to pick up someone in another state. So you just have to be, it's one of those things where you never really know, but it comes with the territory. Like I said, I'm not working in house like I used to, because when I worked on that what they call the house staff at the funeral home, I was there Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I had kind of like set hours and stuff to be at the chapel, working services and answering phones and cleaning chapels and working with the people. But for the last 2 years, or last 2.5 years, I've been working in mortuary transportation, which is a little bit different, but it kind of gave me some time to kind of do some other things because just a couple of months ago, I was also working on Chicago PD as an extra. So on days where I would tell the people like, okay, um, if you get a call this day, we have to do it like this or whatever. But and thankfully, by the grace of God, I did not get any calls while I was at um Chicago PD. But this is the interesting thing about that. I gotta share this. It's crazy because I had a dream that I was picking up somebody from a hospital, and then right after that, I was working on a movie set. Now this is gonna be crazy. So when I was working on Chicago Med. They did me kind of bogus because they hooked the brother up, had me on set like a brother gonna do. Then they didn't even show a brother, but it's cool. But but I was working on the first day. They let like I was there for like maybe like 5 hours. They let me go home early, but the next day, man, we was up in there from probably like 5 in the morning to like 12 midnight. You know?
that is dedication right there.
Yeah.
Wow. Like, what do y'all do to keep y'all? Because I remember, I was on the set in South Florida, like last month. We were out there all day. I'm like, I couldn't imagine being on actual movie set. What do y'all do all day to keep yourselves occupied when you're not like shooting?
Well, for me, if anybody like me, I'm very sociable. So like I be literally talking to people because I live in the moment. Like, I know we live in this age now where we got so much technology and stuff like that. But to me, we're humans. I communicate. Like, so a lot of times I may be talking to people, or, the people that want to be bothered, because a lot of people may know this, but not all actors are friendly. Some people are a little more standoffish, but to me, I talk to people. I like to find out who people are, where they come from, because how you gonna build any type of connections if you don't communicate with people? And a lot of times, people are not realizing that this person over here may be good at writing. This person over here may be good at acting. This person over here may have a connection. So to me, it's good to be, not it, we should be friendly to people anyway. But people have to realize that we are meant to communicate. Like, and I think nowadays, like, social media is kind of like a blessing and a curse in a sense, because while it allows us to be able to connect to so many people, I think people are more shy in person. um it's like it's very weird to me because like how like online, like a lot of people are more freer, and I'm not saying everybody, but I think it's totally different than when we were growing up as children. Like, it's very different, it's very awkward because, like I say, we live kind of, it's like we're being programmed to kind of live through the screen. And I personally really don't like that, because I like real connections. I like talking to people, getting to know people. Because once again, a lot of times when people go on these sets, you are there making money. But the truth is, this person right here, that person right there, you never know what you can do if you team up. You know, you might have to pull a Chris Bosh,
Yes.
LeBron, and Dwayne Wade. You might have to say, you know what? We ain't winning like this, but let's come together. Let's make something happen. And
And
it's hard to do that because it's like people talk about it, but like, can I share this part? Like, the last episode
Yeah.
of Chicago PD that I did, I had a blast because we were filming like on a kind of like far south side Chicago. And the last episode, right, this was crazy, but it was like a whole lot of us. We was up in this house, right? And it's crazy because all of us that was in the living room, we were all extras. We all got some screen time, right? That was crazy. Like it was awesome because we all got a chance to, get a little time on screen together. And it was pretty cool because like all of us, we were in the living room having a really powerful conversation. And there was a young man, he's doing a lot of stuff on Tubi and he's doing a lot of other things. And then there's another young lady, she does stage plays. And there's another young lady, her her grandfather, somebody or aunt, they was somebody in the film industry that worked on the set. So like to me, it was just really cool for us to sit there and work together and just all be up in that room talking and getting to know each other because that's what this thing is about. Like a lot of times you hear, even with a lot of the more mainstream actors, a lot of times, like before everybody knew who they were, some of these individuals already met each other. Maybe they didn't know each other pretty well, but okay, it's about collaborating. You gotta show yourself friendly and actually talk to people. Like I think now we just so caught up into posting and wishing and hoping and paying to go viral, but I think you got to build real connections with people. I think
You
that's
do.
more powerful than any algorithm. Yeah, I said the algorithm, so don't get mad at me, but I said it. But real
You good.
connections are more important, in my opinion.
And I totally agree with you, which is why I attend networking events, which is why I'll be on places like trying to network and trying to communicate. But I ain't gonna lie, when I was on that set, I think we were all tired. Nobody really wanted to chat. So, shout out to that filmmaker. I still got love for you, but I'm not naming them, but I still got love for them. So not naming them, but I will we'll wrap this up like this, man. What is your call to action? What are some final words you want to leave the audience? If you must.
My call to action is always love God first, love yourself, and treat people right. That's very important, and use every moment wisely, and don't waste any moment. Because your every day of your life is very important, and you never know. None of us know when this our last, so it's just important to make every moment count, and don't compare yourself to nobody, because everybody is somebody, and when you think you haven't accomplished enough, just sit back and look at your life and just think about it. Be grateful for what you have done and don't compare yourself to what other people have did because you don't know what they did to get there. And then too, sometimes people look successful and may not really be. So, you have to understand that success is a journey. It's not a destination because destinations, things change and so it goes up and down like a roller coaster. So enjoy the journey.
Of course, you definitely got to enjoy the journey. Mr. Wade, I want to thank you for blessing the Liquor Talk with your presence, man. How can the people reach you? If anybody's hearing this, how can the people reach you?
You can reach me on Instagram, Wade Jedi 99. I'm a very big Star Wars fan. Shout out to George Lucas. But Wade Jedi 99, or you can reach me on Facebook, Wade Simmons. You want to chat, you want to talk, feel free to reach out. I'll talk to anybody. Like I'm no stranger. I'm not shy to even reach out to people and just say, hey, I like what you do. If I ever reach out to anybody, I ain't asking you for nothing. I'm just reaching out to say, I appreciate what you do and I'm proud of you.
Hey, well said, well said. Thank you, Mr. Wade, for blessing the Liquor Talk with your presence. If you ever want to collaborate again, I might be in Florida, but remember, I'm just always a DM or a call away, man.
That's all
So
right.
anytime hey, just holler at me. We'll make some stuff happen. Or if you need me to come to Illinois and be an extra on your film, you let me know. We'll do the arrangements and stuff because shit's
Oh
expensive.
no, look,
So
everybody
we'll
actually now everybody has started me. Like I say, if I ever start, getting to a certain point, I'm not following none of that industry stuff that I call it. Like everybody is somebody, and I want to give people their proper credit. If I can't do it right, I can't do it at all.
I know that's right, man. I know that I feel the same way. I know that's right, man. But if you ever need me, holler at me. Thank you all to listening to this episode of the Liquor Talk podcast. Thank y'all for pouring up with me. Go ahead, take your shot of Don Julio or whatever tequila you like. That's the drink of the week, y'all. I want to say thank you to everybody that's tuned in on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or you're watching this on YouTube or TikTok. The website is coming soon, y'all. Until the next episode, peace, y'all. Peace.